Thanks for tuning in, everyone. My name's Tim, and I'm from The Man Effect. And Dr. Daniel P. David from Men's Life Institute and I are going to be talking about mental health, the COVID-19 outbreak crisis, and
Yeah,
just kind of how to stay sane in a weird time. So, yeah, thank,
absolutely weird time. It's incredible what we're all going through, right? It's all brand new,
yeah,
and so I've been talking to men in the past couple of weeks since everybody's been under this social distancing slash really should be called physical distancing. We
yeah.
we really need to get socially connected right now with everyone, right?
Uh,
So, but there's some underlying anxieties and things like that that guys are coming up with, especially with where are we in the world and
yeah,
what's going on with this disease, and then on the other hand it's the economy and
there's so
and
much going on.
and then the safety of loved ones, parents, grandparents, things like that. So
Yeah,
uh, I've had a lot of requests from guys to talk about what to do and how to handle this type of situation.
yeah.
So I'm glad that you and I are talking. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too. I always
So
love our chats.
pardon me.
I always love our
Yes, I
chats. So.
me too.
But yeah, it's definitely something for the history books because I'm not aware of any other time in history where the whole world shuts down, and so on an
Right.
economic scale, and
It's
so
huge.
it's just a very very unique time to be alive. Um, but yeah, so just kind of like moving forward, depending where you're at in the world,
Right.
you might be forced to be in your house or you might barely get to go out. There's a lot of different scenarios. Like where I'm at, we have a curfew from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. and you cannot be out during that time. And other
From
people,
from 5 where? 5
5
p.m. to 5 a.m.?
yeah, every day.
Wow.
And so there's just, I mean, honestly, I'm not, it doesn't affect me that much because I've already worked from home. I'm used to being home a lot. But I know that there's a lot of influence for people who aren't used to that type of lifestyle.
Mhm.
Um, and so uh, I was just thinking about like a lot of humans just in general busy themselves with their work. And so
Mhm.
being laid off or being fired or your company going under, you have this space and this time where you can't go out and really change that. And you're kind of trapped at home. And
Right.
so you have a lot of stress and you also have a lot of time to rest and you just don't know what to do with that.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of where my headspace was at when you had originally wanted to talk about this.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. Well, and I also think it impacts people differently, especially in different age categories
yeah.
too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like I've had a lot of younger guys who are in their 20s who, they want to get out, and they're feeling really stressed because they're not out socializing and maybe going to parties or going
Hmm.
out to eat or doing other things that would take a lot of you know be more in a social situation.
Yeah.
So it's strange because then on the other hand there's a whole group of guys who are used to being socially isolated, and now that everyone else is, they want to be outside the most. It's a very interesting time. It's almost opposite. It's like, well, now that everybody's being isolated, I really want to get outside. and
Yeah.
uh and
Yeah.
then of course social distancing or physical distancing is necessary with this virus, so everybody's just confused. I think it's a very confusing time.
It is.
And there's some real dangers here, and that's why I thought you and I should have a discussion around this, because
Yeah.
a lot of guys don't realize it. Maybe they haven't been to therapy, and so they don't realize that they have an underlying anxiety or maybe depression.
Uh-huh.
And so it's sort of coming out now, because they're staring at the four walls of
Yeah.
their apartments or houses and homes, and not knowing what to do with themselves and feeling kind of lethargic and down and sort of depressive, right?
Yeah.
And then there are people who have these underlying conditions like generalized anxiety disorder. So maybe they're more, anxious.
Yeah.
Like my dog right now, who is trying to get my attention. So,
Yeah.
this,
Yeah. And
the
people
whole,
with bipolar disorder or OCD.
right, right.
Yeah.
OCD or, um,
Actual depression too. Yeah.
yeah, depression. Uh, maybe they've had history of suicidal ideation. So, these things can cause a lot of problems, especially when they're feeling alone. I don't know if you saw the news the other day, but there was this young man who, um, because of the social isolation already building up, he committed suicide.
Oh, really?
And it's really tragic. It's a sad situation.
That's,
So,
yeah, that's crazy.
obviously he must have had some underlying condition
Uh-huh.
prior to, the quarantine. And so, parents and family members should be checking on each other
Yeah.
and making sure that everybody's okay, because this is when the mental illness really comes out, during the times like these.
So you feel like there's a magnification that's very possible for people
Right.
just because of the isolation and the stress and all
Yeah.
the uniqueness that's happening?
Yeah. I mean, he must have not been able to, reach out to people, or people weren't checking in on him, and then found out later on that he had committed suicide. And there are lots of young people out there, and older people too. Um, so in different communities, I know that this happens a lot, where, we have to really be paying attention to, the mental health situation for anyone who, may have had a pre-existing condition prior to this.
Yeah. Yeah. So then like so say I'm a uh, an American who's been laid off and I'm trapped at home. I have like 2 months worth of money and
Mm-hmm.
nothing I can do, and I have chronic depression.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you trying to say to me?
Mm-hmm. Well, you're not alone, and we're all in this together. We need to understand that, back in the, financial crisis of 2008, people, uh, we saw the good qualities of people come out, and
Yeah.
people started helping one another, and that we're not alone in this situation either. And, I survived 9/11 in New York City, and it felt very much like this. And then people came together, and so it's important to realize that we're all in this together, and that, you're not alone, number one. and,
Yeah.
and don't th- you know and so a lot of people are afraid about the economy, and, what's going to happen. Small business owners,
Yeah.
people in the service industry, they're really suffering the most.
Oh yeah.
And so it's important to, take a step back, and realize, okay, well, we're going to need help here along the way. And definitely, hopefully our government will get it together and, be helpful. But, don't hold your breath, everybody.
I don't know.
um, right. But we need to depend on each other,
Yeah.
and be more encouraging towards one another. And so number one, you're not alone.
Hmm.
Right. um, Number two, I think it's important to acknowledge and let somebody know if you have any of these underlying conditions.
Hmm.
Talk to family members, call your family physician if you have to, or, reach out to somebody in the mental health world.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you can't afford it. There are, right now, therapists and other organizations that are providing low cost or free counseling, or just,
Oh really?
mental health check-ins. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I'd go on psychologytoday.com in your area and find out if there's any, um, that you can go on psychologytoday.com and put in your zip code number, or your city, and maybe, look up some free services. Or, you know everybody's being highly aware that, mental health is essential at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big deal. So like, what about just anyone who just in general? I'm sure there are people who just feel lonely or just like kind of stuck or just not in quicksand, but like in a rut. What about people who identify with that type of emotion or feeling?
Well, obviously that probably comes with some pre-existing, mental health issues, to begin with, and maybe it's just suddenly they start feeling this way because they haven't really had anything to pull that out of them, or
Sure.
expose that underlying condition. So, I think that for men especially, we don't like, to feel helpless. There are basically two things that this crisis does to us is that number one, it makes us feel helpless, right? And that sort of exposes some level of inadequacy in us, that we feel like we should be able to, fight back against the common enemy, right?
Sure.
And so, but this is an unseen enemy. um, and so it brings out a lot of helplessness in us. And
Mm.
then, the other thing is fear, and we don't like to, men don't like to feel fear because it makes us feel weak,
Mhm.
right? And I think that's another issue that creates depression and anxiety in men, is when we start to feel inadequate and we start to feel weak. We start to get into all kinds of self-shaming and negative thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I
so
mean, honestly, it's kind of an opportunity or a crucible type of moment where if even though it's an unfortunate situation, you can make the best of it by identifying issues in your own life that, like, okay, like now it's time to maybe address some of these mental health issues. I don't know.
right. I mean, in many ways, I think the best thing that we can do is, staying home. There's a meme: "You're not stuck at home. You're safe at home."
Mm.
I think we have to have that mindset. First of all, it's not that we're not doing anything, but by staying home, we are doing something.
Yeah.
And that, a lot of guys get stuck in the mindset that, well, if I'm at home, I'm bored, I'm not doing anything, my life isn't going anywhere, and
Yeah.
this, feels like, I'm incapable of uh, you know doing anything with my life right at this point. So, but
Yeah.
in actuality, we are doing something by staying home. That's an action, and we
Yep.
have to think about it as an action. We're doing our part to keep other people safe. I think that's why, one of the reasons why the young people under 30 have had the hardest time to adjust to this virus situation, is because, they think, well, I'm impervious to this disease, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to get it. But actually, they may have mild symptoms and just carry it on to maybe a parent or grandparent or someone in their family who has an underlying physical, respiratory problem or heart condition or lung condition or diabetes or just obesity. All these things are being found to be, what puts people at risk.
Uh-huh.
So by staying home and staying put, we're actually doing our part not to infect the people we
Yeah.
love, right? And I've had to really drill that into a lot of young people's heads. Like, hey, this is important. This is serious. You may not get sick and die, or you may have very mild symptoms, but that doesn't mean people around you can't get sick and die. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So because men tend to be action oriented, I encourage them to think in terms of, well, doing nothing is doing something.
Okay.
At this point, being at home is doing something.
Yeah. Okay. And what are some other actions items that you were hoping to um, uh, de- uh, depart into other people's lives or impart into other people's lives?
Well, I think what's important is that we all maintain. There are five things that I really think are helpful. Number
Uh-huh.
one is maintain routine.
Mm.
If
Mhm.
you have a daily routine and you had one before the coronavirus situation, try to maintain that as closely as possible.
Uh-huh.
You know, this gets into even when and which is the second point that I have here, is that, we should be going to bed at the same time every night and getting up at the same time every morning,
Mhm.
just as if we were okay in it being able to go out back to work or whatever, we should keep our sleep cycle,
Uh-huh.
because that's what I notice is going the most. I have a few friends on Facebook and things like that, and they're sort of saying, hey, I slept all, or I stayed up all night watching Netflix and binging on whatever show, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that's not a good idea.
Yeah.
In this time, we should all be going to bed at the same time. And if we don't have good sleep habits, we should probably be going to bed around 10 or 11 and getting up at around 6 or 7 in the morning, maybe 8
Yeah.
at the latest, um, because sleeping during the day doesn't help us. It actually makes us more depressed, more lethargic, right?
Yeah.
So keep the same routine, keep your sleep hours 7 to 8 hours at night, and then don't overeat. Another thing,
Yeah.
we really got to get people to understand that, oh,
Don't
this isn't the time to graze like cattle,
like I'm bored. Let's just shovel in some more food.
Right. Like, yeah, it's like, it's just not a good thing. I
Yeah.
don't know how to sweeten that up any other way, but just to say, don't overeat.
Uh-huh.
And I think that people need to get outside and spend at least 1 to 2 hours in nature. If that means just sitting in your yard, if that means sitting under a tree somewhere, reading a book, if that means walking your dog,
Mm.
and a lot of dogs are probably really happy to have all their pet parents at home. So
Yeah.
so
They're loving it.
so yeah, they're like, my dog right now is like sitting on my lap, doesn't get to be with me so much, right? So he's soaking it up,
Yeah.
so getting out into nature,
If possible. I mean, if
if
you're in an urban
possible.
setting, it might not be possible.
Right. I mean, if there's concrete around you, 30 square miles, that might be problematic, but
Yeah.
find a tree somewhere. Um, you know, get out, go drive somewhere. I guess driving is, you're not going to get the disease driving. Of course, social distancing, meaning physical distancing. Don't go and hang out with a bunch of people somewhere on a
Yeah.
beach. Doesn't work, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and then exercise daily. That's the fifth point. Do
Yeah.
some sort of exercise, like ride your bicycle,
Yeah.
walk, right? Do
I go for
push-ups.
walks. I'm a
Yeah, go
walk.
for walks. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to maintain as regular as a day as possible.
Uh-huh.
And so, well, okay, we can't go to work. Some people can work from home, which is, I think, been helpful for a lot of people
Yeah.
when they can work from home. But if you have the kind of job that you got to go into work, and now either the business is temporarily shut down, or you've been furloughed, or uh, you can't go into work at all, then start a project. I started looking around my house and thinking, well, I could paint that room that I haven't painted. I've been wanting to paint for years and haven't.
Yeah.
Of course, when you go get the paint, as long as you have the paint, that could be a possibility. But
Yeah.
I saw Home Depot was having 6 feet rule, so they of course at Home Depot you could hand out rulers, or
Yeah.
measuring, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Keep everybody 6 feet apart. But do a project, right? Do
Yeah.
something, like maybe write that book that you were intending on writing, or Coursera has some really great courses. Have I ever mentioned Coursera?
No.
Coursera.org
Uh-huh.
is an aggregate for university courses,
Oh, cool.
and you can pay a monthly fee. I think they're still free on some level if you want to if you don't want to do them for credit, but if you want to
Uh-huh.
do them for credit, you pay a small monthly fee. I think it's less than
Really?
$50. Yeah. And I tell guys all the time, even when there isn't a virus situation, do the Coursera.org stuff. And if you're looking to up your skills for your resume. You can put these courses, complete a course, get a certificate, and put it under your professional development section
Yeah.
of your resume. So Coursera.org. I mean, there's Udemy. There's other things. There are more coding-based schools out there, but
Yeah.
Coursera.org has everything. I mean,
I've never heard of it.
yeah, it's really great. And so it's really cool to take these, and these are, high level courses, college courses. One guy many years ago did all of the degrees, all the courses required for a degree at MIT, and then they came up with a question. Well, he didn't actually matriculate into MIT, and he didn't get a diploma, a bachelor's degree, but did he have the same amount of education? And he passed all the courses, and the argument was that he did. So, you can take a bunch of courses on Coursera and,
Interesting.
put together some professional development stuff for yourself, right? And
Yeah.
personal development. One person I talked to, she said she went on and took art history because she has an interest in art.
Oh, that's cool.
Do that too.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. And then I don't. If you want to learn a language, go on Duolingo and take a language course. I've been busting out Duolingo for the past couple of weeks. I have so much extra time. It's like I think I'll be proficient by the time the the virus situation is over. But Duolingo is a lot of fun. It's a great way of learning. Have you ever tried it?
I haven't done Duolingo. I'm using a flashcard app specific for learning languages as well. So,
Well, Duolingo actually has what they call tiny cards, which
okay.
are flashcards as well, that help to build vocabulary.
Cool.
So, but that's a great way to spend extra time.
Yes.
If you learn a language an hour a day, you're going to feel like you accomplished something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Slowly and build up, right?
Yeah.
I've got other guys who are maybe doing yard work or getting outdoors and starting a garden. I think that can be fun, and it's out in nature, right? We all need to be out in nature, really.
Yeah.
So
I would love to be out in nature right now. Not gonna lie, but
are you in the city?
Yeah, I'm in a city.
Yeah.
There's nowhere nearby, but like things I've been doing too. Like I've been working on the business strategy for my small business, my consulting firm, because of the virus, all of my clientele are shut down, and so I can't do any sales really. So I'm taking this opportunity to reformulate and strategize the approach I want to take. So I mean, there's lots of things people can do. It's just a matter of if you have the motivation or desire, I guess.
Yeah, this might be the time for people to write out a business plan if they ever wanted to be self-employed, and because the economy will come back, people will need to go shopping again, people need to go out to eat again, people need to go to movies, right? So why not take this time to make some plans?
Or try out the hobby you've been saying you wanted to start for forever, or like there's so many things you can do. I mean, good Lord.
I was going to get into drones, because I wanted to start experimenting with drones and cameras, like for video recording and things like that. You can do that alone.
Yeah. I've always wanted to do the drone racing. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Those are cool.
I suppose if you don't need to be standing right next to the person, right?
No, they have a headset and you can
yeah.
Anyway.
It's pretty cool.
But
and online gaming, I guess a lot of guys are used to that too.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else like that would just be like practical. Just like even just writing down a list of the things you want to do, and then just picking something on that list to do.
Right.
There is a possibility that it could be a month or two until people are really freed up, and so it's like it's just a reality that you have to be okay with. I don't know.
Yeah, this is a new reality. And yes, do you want to get through the 2 months, let's say, or however long it takes? Do you want to get through the 2 months, that's what I ask guys to think about. It's like, well, I have a choice how I get through this next 2 months.
Yeah.
I can be miserable, uh, begrudgingly, quarantined, upset with the world, angry at everybody, and I'll get through it, and I'll be miserable for it. Or maybe I need to choose a different path.
Yep.
And maybe it's a spiritual path, maybe it's a path of connecting to the bigger to the planet. You've seen all these videos where the animals are coming out, and I
Yeah.
think the animals are coming out going, I wonder what happened to everybody.
Yeah.
All the deer in Japan are like, where'd everybody go?
Or the channels in Venice are crystal clear now too with
Oh
fish.
yeah, all the fish are happy,
Hmm.
and then there's, I think in one city, all the otters are coming out and
Hmm.
playing in the streets. They're like, yay, the people are gone. So when we come back, we should probably be a little bit better stewards of the environment, right? And we
Yeah.
should understand that, hey, the animals are happy when we're gone. That's saying something. So
Like us. That's just what it is.
what'd you say?
I said they just don't like us. That's what it is. No, I'm
Oh,
just
no. They're relieved. Uh, but but we should come back and be nicer to the
yeah.
planet, right?
Yeah.
So come back in 2 months and have a story of how you overcame, and the projects that you completed, and or maybe the new business that you started, or
Yeah.
or book that you wrote, or the memoir that you're writing, or a
Yeah.
blog that you started. All these things are possible. So it's so important to think of the possibilities that, and the opportunities here.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I was just trying to go back through everything we've talked about. Like if you're depressed or you feel isolated or helpless, like just reach out. Like don't force yourself to be further down that hole. There's ways to reach out to people.
Right.
Um, and set up some routine in your life, actually get good sleep. Think of this as a time to catch up on your sleep debt, all that sleep you've
Yeah.
been missing out on.
Right.
And and then start doing things with your free time.
Absolutely.
That seems to be the message that I see you conveying. So
Yeah. And especially, I do want to say this, we forget, people worry about their heart and the lungs and liver. We
mhm.
forget there's an organ between our ears
Yeah.
that we have to take care of too, right? And it's not all mental, it's physical too. So like, guys, we need to start eating for our brains. And
Yeah.
so, like vitamins are really important. Um, at this point, being outdoors helps us to get vitamin D.
Hmm.
We need it. It's actually a hormone that affects mood and your immune system. So,
Yeah.
guys should really eating and taking in vitamin D, magnesium, getting some fish oil, especially omega-3s, for your brain.
Yep.
Flaxseed oil works, and flaxseed, exercise, reduce the sugar.
Yep.
So not a lot of snacking, right?
Not a lot of
And,
soda. Damn.
yeah, not a lot of soda either. And then sleep, right? All of these things are good for the brain
Yeah,
at this
they
point.
are.
So,
And you're just your body in general. But yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So overall, this is a time to take care of ourselves.
Yeah. It's an invitation to.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So is there any like parting words of advice you'd like to give everyone who's watching?
Well, I just would like to say that, again, you're not alone. We're all in this together.
Mhm.
Try not to watch the news. The days go better without the news, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe just check in for 10 minutes. I can see you roll your eyes there. Like
Yeah.
just check in a little bit to see where everybody else is, but then turn it off. Try to, not get heavily into Facebook or any other social media stuff that's talking about all the, the bad things. Um, Simply just stay a little bit informed, but then, live a different life at this point. Live a life that is healthier,
Yeah.
uh, more connected to people. I think now we're realizing we need each other. It's so important. So call your friends, call family members. If you have friends that you haven't talked to in 20 years, catch up with them, call them up, because they'll be happy to hear from you. right? Volunteer to, listen to someone else being miserable at this point and offer them good advice or good feedback. Just, be kind to people, be loving, be compassionate, all
Yeah.
these things that really, at this time we need for one another. So,
Yeah.
uh, and then if you're really in a down and out situation, reach out to, your nearest therapist. Like I said, psychologytoday.com. I don't get any kickback from them. I just know it's a good website for people to find somebody in the mental health field. So,
Yeah.
uh, make sure you reach out for mental health.
Yeah. That's great. And
Yeah.
just, yeah, just don't let yourself get down about things that are out of your control.
Right. Right.
Do
Right.
what you can with what you can control.
Practice radical acceptance. I have to radically accept that I can't control what's going on out there. I can only control what I can put my hands on and work with. So, you know,
Yeah.
you know, plant a garden, that's been my form of control, right? It's like plant a garden, right? So,
Or go get a dog.
go get, yeah, like the ASPC says that dogs are flying off the shelves right now. I
Oh,
think they're
really?
getting adopted, which, this is great news, but don't give them back when before you go adopt an animal,
You
make
cannot
sure
get
you
it back.
yeah,
Not
do not,
allowed.
don't do that. That's not nice. Right. So, but cats and dogs are, really loving this time. They're
Yeah.
probably going, what the heck happened?
Who
Right.
isn't? Yeah. Of
Right.
all everyone, they are the most. They're getting fed the most and the most attention for sure.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
So,
everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. If you
yes.
like what we're talking about here, check out the other videos on this YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe. If you have any questions, comment below. We'll do our best to answer any questions you have. Is there any
Awesome. Yes.
other parting words you have?
No, we're good. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate you. And, we're on different parts of the different ends of the planet. You're across the pond.
Yep.
So stay safe over there and,
Oh, I will.
and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Goodbye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thanks.